Hi friends, good morning to all of you, and I welcome you to this new class where we'll be further discussing about Parliament. And we saw in the last class about how the elections are conducted, how different candidates under the banner of different political parties stand as a candidate for election. For some who don't want to join any party, they stand as a independent candidate. All that we saw. And after the elections, we saw a party that gets more than half of the seats can form the government. So it is a must. The party should have more than half of the seats. And sometimes it is possible that no party is able to get half of the seats. So then two or three groups can come together, parties can come together and get the required number, more than half of the total seats. Then they can form the government. In such case, it will be known as a coalition government. So let us see in detail what are the functions of the parliament. After the members are elected, what are they to do in the parliament? They are our representative and we send them to the parliament, and what are they doing there? What are they expected to do, or what are they ought to do for us? So let us see how. You can follow your textbook, page number 36. There you will find the first point, that to select a national government. That is the duty of the first duty, to select a national government. So we know the members who are elected to the parliament, they are called MPs. MP means member of parliament. And all the MPs together, we already said there are two houses, upper house and lower house. Rajya Sabha is the upper house, Lok Sabha is the lower house. So both these houses put together we call parliament. And the first function is to select a national government. I said after the election, the party that gets majority of the votes, they will be forming the government. And if they don't get, then they can get the help or support of another party and reach the magic figure, or that is the required number, more than half of the number they should get. So the parliament in India consists of president and the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. So apart from the members of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, one more member is there in the parliament, that is the President of India. The President of India is also member of the parliament, the part of the parliament. Then after the Lok Sabha elections, a list is prepared showing how many MPs belong to each political party. So you can see here, after the election, they publish the list of candidates who are winning. For each party, how many seats they are winning. So that is a result of 1999 elections. So like that. So here we find Bharatiya Janata Party has got 182 seats. That means they have got more than half. Total number is 543. So 182 means it is more than half of the seats. So BJP was able to form the government. All the other party they are getting less. The second highest is Indian National Congress with 114 seats. So BJP is much ahead of them and BJP formed the elections. So the party that is getting highest number of MPs, they will form the government. So who is supposed to put out this notice? It is to be done by the election commission. The election commission is responsible for publishing the list of candidates who have won the elections. So that they are the official source. Then For political party to form government, they must have a majority of the elected MPs. So we already said, if a party want to form the government, they should have more than half of the MPs. Out of the total seats, they should have half of the MPs. Now, since there are 543 elected nominated members, so when the book was published, the total number of MPs were 543. Now it has become 545. So as the population is increasing, more and more constituencies are created, and therefore now we have, how many constituencies are there, or how many MPs it is possible? We have 545 plus 2. We have 2 nominated members are there. So these 2 are not elected, but they are nominated by government or the president and so on. So to have a majority, a party should have at least half the number. So if it is 545 MPs are there, the half of it will be, how much it will be? 500. The half of 500 is 250. Then 45, half of 45 is 23. So they should have at least 273 MPs should be there in the parliament in order to form the government. So 545 divided by 2. So minimum they should have 273 MPs. Then only they will reach the halfway mark, and then they will be able to form the government. Then the opposition in parliament is formed by all the political parties that oppose the majority party or the coalition formed. So the party that gets more than half of the elections, they will form the government. And what about the rest of the MPs? They belong to different parties. No? So they all will form together, and they will be known as the opposition parties. Opposition. So from the name itself we can understand what is their role. Their role is to oppose the wrong policies of the government. And if the government introduces something good, then they are supposed to support the government. And the government's wrong policies, they have to oppose. That is why they are called opposition. So this party that is forming the government, they will be called ruling party, and all the rest will be known as opposition party. So the duty of this opposition is to correct the government when they make wrong policies, or oppose the government when they are making the wrong policy, and so on. So that is very important. If opposition is not there, what will happen? Government can do anything. Nobody is there to question them. Nobody is there to protest. So the policy may be completely wrong, may not be useful for the people at all. It may be useful for the government or for the ministers and so on, but it may not be useful for the people. So opposition is there, they will question the government. The policy that you are making is wrong. The policy that you are going to introduce in the country is wrong. So they will force the government to withdraw their policies and introduce something that is good. So it is possible because of the presence of the opposition parties. But in our country, we know opposition parties are not united. Each one has got their own agenda. Therefore, they don't come together. They don't speak together. And so each one is trying to oppose the government from their own side. So that way the opposition parties are divided and there is no unity, and the government takes advantage of that. They do whatever policies they like. These days we know the oil prices are rising high and a lot of things are taking place. The vaccine is not available for the people, and so many wrong policies the government is taking, and the opposition is unable to corner the government because of lack of unity and so on. Now, one of the most important functions of the Lok Sabha is to select the executive. So, the government, the elections are over, the members are elected, and one of the most important functions of the Lok Sabha. All the Lok Sabha will come together and they will elect the executive. I hope you remember what we learned earlier. There are three organs of the state: legislature, executive and judiciary. So legislature means all these elected MPs are legislative. They belong to the legislature. So that is their duty to join the parliament, discuss the laws that they want introduced and so on. So that is the legislature or legislative. The second group is called executive. So executive means, we can say in short, government. Executive means the government, the ministers, then all the officers working under the government, the police, the other various government officers, they are all part of the government, those who are executing the laws. So the legislative will form the law, they will make the law, and it is the duty of the executive to implement that law. So all those who are in power, the ministers, the police, the army, the other officers, it is all their duty to execute. GC, all the government office staffs, they are part of the government and they are all executives. It is their duty to make sure that people are obeying the law, people are following the law and so on. Then the executive, as we have read in chapter 1, it is a group of persons who work together to implement the laws made by the parliament. So as I said, the duty of the legislature is to pass the law, to make the law, and the duty of the executive is to implement that law. They have to make sure that these laws are practiced, these laws are followed by the people. That is their duty. Then this executive is often what we have in mind when we use the term government. So when we say executive, what is in our mind? We say the government. Government is not just the central government, the prime minister and his other ministers. They are not only the government, but all the people who are working with the government officers, the government office staffs, everybody is part of the government. Then the Prime Minister of India is the leader of the ruling party in Lok Sabha. So the Prime Minister will be the member of or the leader of this ruling party. The same way opposition also will have a president or a leader. So the ruling party's leader is always the Prime Minister. Then from the MPs who belong to her party, the Prime Minister selects ministers to work with her to implement decisions. So they will elect the leader of the ruling party, and that leader will become the Prime Minister. Afterwards, Prime Minister will select some more people from the ruling party, maybe from their own party, to become other ministers. All the work cannot be looked after by Prime Minister alone. The work will be too heavy. So Prime Minister will select many more ministers. Some will be cabinet ministers, some will be council ministers, some will be Minister of State and so on. So all these are there. All these people are selected so that they will be there to help the Prime Minister. For example, there are different departments are there. We call it Home Minister is looking after the Home Ministry, or Defense Ministry is looking after the Defense Ministry, or economic minister is looking after the economic activity, the finance, and people who are the minister who is in charge of public works will look after the roads and other transportation means. So all these are different departments, and prime minister will be taking the most important department for him, portfolio for him, and all other ones he will distribute to the other ministers. They will be able to help him and so on. So oftentimes in the recent past it has been difficult for a single political party to get majority. So we know all the times Congress was getting majority on its own. Congress party was the most important party all the times, and now we see BJP has got the majority on its own, and sometimes no party is able to get, because every year the number of parties are increasing. More and more parties are standing for election, more and more parties are sending their candidate for election, and they are getting elected. Therefore the number of seats are divided among the different parties. All the times only 2 or 3 important parties were there, and most of the people used to win the election. But now the situation is changed in India. More and more parties are there, especially regional parties. Every state has got its own regional party, and they also put a candidate in that state, and they win the election, and then they like that the number of seats are divided. So for a single party to get always majority is not that easy, it's not that possible. In that case, what will happen? As I said before, 2 or 3 parties will come together, form the government. So maybe let's say Congress alone is not able to form the government, because it is not having more than half of the members by itself. So it will call 1 or 2 more other parties who are having some more MPs. So you come and support us, and we shall form the government. So 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, groups of parties can join together and get that sufficient number of seats. So there should be always more than half. So till they reach that number, they will go on following the help of others, and they will at the end form the government. That is how the government is formed. So remember, if more than one parties come together and form the election, then they are known as coalition government. What are they known as? Coalition government. So what is coalition? COA. Coalition government. They are known as coalition government. So coalition means government formed by more than one party. If only one party means it will be a single party government, but more than one means it will be a coalition government. Then another house of the parliament is Rajya Sabha. We said parliament has got 2 houses. One is Lok Sabha, another one is Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha, another name for Lok Sabha is lower house. Lower house. This one is Rajya Sabha is upper house. So we said about Lok Sabha, there are 545 members are there, plus 2 members are nominated by the others. And upper house, it is not elected by the people directly, but who elects the members of the Rajya Sabha? They are elected by MLAs. So it is the MLAs who decide. From each state, so many seats are there, and the MLAs of that state assembly will decide whom they want to vote. So accordingly, the member of the upper house, they will be elected. So they are also known as MPs. Upper house members are also known as MPs, and they are elected by MLAs. People don't go for voting for the Rajya Sabha member election, but only for Lok Sabha house people go for election or go for voting. Then the Rajya Sabha can also initiate legislation. So the Rajya Sabha also can make a law. They can make law, but afterwards they have to send it to the Lok Sabha and they have to approve. So if they want to make a law here also they can make. In the Lok Sabha also they can make. Afterwards they have to get approval from Rajya Sabha. So both these houses have to agree. Then only a bill can become a law. To create a new law, both houses they have to pass that law. So in order to pass that law, more than half of the members have to support. So a party that is having more than half of the members and forming the government, then for them it is easy to pass a law because they will have enough members from their own party who will support the bill. Suppose they are running a coalition government, they have to ask each party, please accept this bill, please support this bill. Only then everybody support, only the bill will be passed. Otherwise the bill will be discarded if they are not getting enough support means. Then therefore it is very important of reviewing and altering the laws initiated by the Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha, suppose government may have sufficient number supporters in order to support that bill. But if they don't have enough support from the Rajya Sabha, then that bill will be rejected. So both houses they have to make sure that enough supporters are there. Otherwise, they make a bill, it will not be getting enough support from the people or from the MPs, and the bill will be rejected. So the members of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected members of the Legislative Assembly. That means they are elected by the MLAs. So not by the people directly. The people elect the MLAs and the MLAs elect the Rajya Sabha members. Then there are 245 members are there. So 233. There are 233 members are there, plus there are 12 nominated members are also there. So there are 245 members are there altogether. So among these 245, that is 233 plus 12. So 233 members are elected by the MLAs. Then the 12 people are nominated by the president and so on. So some of the important people from the country, the government, or especially the president of India will be nominating them. I hope you remember that several sports persons were elected, including Sachin Tendulkar was elected to the parliament, to the Rajya Sabha. He did not stand for election. MLAs did not vote for him, but he was nominated by the president. So that way government want to include some of the popular people to the government so that they can influence the people in the country, especially the youth and so on. So that Sachin Tendulkar was brought into parliament or nominated to the parliament with the hope of that he will influence the youth of the country and do something for the youth of the country in order to develop their talents, in order to channelize their energy for the good of the nation and so on. But unfortunately, from the reports we know, Sachin Tendulkar did not have enough time to go to the parliament. He was very busy doing other things. So very few days he was going to the parliament. So what the government expected of him, he could not achieve because he was not much interested in politics. He was simply nominated without his consent maybe, or they were not asking him whether are you interested or not. Government just wanted to promote him so that he will do something, but unfortunately his interest was in somewhere else, in sports and so he did not have time to attend the parliament. Like that, many people are nominated to the parliament, to the Rajya Sabha, but hoping that because of their influence over the people, because of their talents and abilities, they will be able to bring a lot of good to the country, to the government, and so that is the expectation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. So today we shall wind up with, that is first duty of the parliament, that is to elect a national government. So all the MPs will come together belonging to the same party, they will elect a leader and that leader will become prime minister. Then opposition parties also will come together, they will elect a leader and that person will be the leader of the opposition. And if the bill is passed, bill means law, new law is called bill. Before making it a law, it is called a bill. So they will present a bill or a new law in the parliament, they will discuss together, and if they have enough support in the parliament, more than half of the members they should have, then it will become a law, otherwise it will be rejected. And the duty of the opposition party is to oppose the wrong policies, the wrong rules of the government. And we also said about the upper house. Upper house also is able to pass law, make rule and so on. But it has to be always passed by both houses. If the law is made in the lower house, afterwards it will be brought to upper house. This house also have to agree that. So if the law is made in the upper house, afterwards it will be sent to lower house. They have to approve. So unless they approve, they cannot. Then with regard to the members of the upper house, we said they are elected by the MLAs. 233 MPs are there in the Rajya Sabha who are elected. And then again 12 more are there. They are nominated by the president, by the government and so on. So that is in short about the first function of the parliament. So thank you for listening. We will meet you again in the next day. Till then, bye.